Set.
that?
Didn't want to.
Ready? Is that on? All right. Good evening. We'll call the meeting what are we? January 9th. Call the meeting back to order. And resume public session by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody please stand? Carly, would you like to lead us in the pledge? Thank you.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your patience. We have a lot of awards to hand out tonight. But before we begin, just want to remind you of the emergency exits. Take time to notice where they are, to my right and your left, and immediately to the rear of the building. In the event of an emergency, please leave in an orderly fashion through these exits. This is a smoke-free school district. Smoking is not permitted in the building or anywhere on the grounds. With that, we will take a motion for the consent agenda. We do have to break out the minutes. So we'll take item C1 first, okay? Need a motion and a second to approve. Are we gonna have a quorum to approve? Anthony's got to.
He's got to abstain. We won't have quorum.
We won't.
Yeah,
All
that's
right,
the
we're going
problem.
to table the minutes and put it on the next agenda. All right, no objection to tabling? No objection to tabling. That leaves us with consent agenda C2 through C7. And can we have a motion and a second to approve? Motion by Mr. Santos, seconded by Ms. Hunt. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion. All those in favor? Are you ready to vote? Okay, thank you. Put your hands down. And seeing all hands raised, the consent agenda items C2 through C7 passes unanimously. That brings us up to item D1, the student commendations and the superintendent.
Yes, thank you, President Felice. I'd like to start off communications and announcements and the new year with some special recognitions of some of our high school students and two of our coaches. This evening, the board will recognize two students who have earned the prestigious award Suffolk Zone Award, 4 students earning all-county athlete status, 2 coaches who've earned Coach of the Year, 3 all-state musicians, and 7 all-county musicians. I'd like to start off by introducing Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you. It is actually my pleasure to be here tonight to recognize, and I thank you, Board of Education, for taking your time to recognize some of my student athletes. Off the agenda, I just wanted to mention, quick news came in from Newsday, because they do news right away now. Gulfport basketball won 90-60 tonight over Smithtown East, and Jarrell White scored his 1,500th point. That was breaking news. Other breaking news was our wrestling team tonight sealed the victory and won the League 4 championship. It's their first league championship since 1998. So that was and now to our Suffolk Zone Award winners. The 2018 Suffolk Zone Award recipients are Sam Hampson and Alyssa Mantione. They were recognized on November 27th by the Suffolk Zone chapter of the New York State AFID for outstanding achievement in physical education. Just a quick background, Sam Hampson has a 95.8 average. He's ranked 21st in his class, and he has 100 average in physical education his entire high school career. He's a high school athlete, 3-year varsity soccer player. He's a captain of the team and led them to the playoffs this year. He's a 2-year varsity baseball player. He's also involved in our National Honor Society. He's the treasurer for Athletes Helping Others. He's in the Science Honor Society and the Math Honor Society. He's an academic county soccer player. He's earned various other athletic scholar awards, and he's on the High Honor Roll. That's Sam Hampson. for Alyssa, you're gonna stand up there and stare at them and say nothing. Feel fun. But that's what you do when you get recognized. You got it? You good?
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Steve. And as you can see,
He follows you.
no, you okay,
We're
yeah.
gonna take your picture there too.
Yeah, you're gonna get a picture. Alyssa, like Sam, is also an outstanding physical education student, but when we picked the Suffolk Zone Award, we're looking for well-rounded, we're looking for, you have to have 100 in physical education, so you're there, you're leading, you're participating all the time, but you're also involved in everything else in the school. Alyssa has a 97.3 average, she's ranked 16th in her class. She participated in JV lacrosse for 2 years, varsity volleyball for the last 4 years. She's a captain. She helped her team this year in the fall win a league championship. She's involved in National Honor Society, Science Honor Society. She's also in Athletes Helping Others. She's the president. She is involved in Women in Science and Engineering. She's high honor roll. She's a Scholar Athlete Award winner. And she's also an all-conference volleyball player. Alyssa. You're going to stand with Sam. The board's going to recognize you, but if you want to give a minute to feel funny.
Good practice for all the future athletes.
All right, Sam, this is, oh, here, this is, Sam, this is for your mom. This is what you guys are doing in English tomorrow. Congratulations. Thank you.
Now I'd like to recognize our all county athletes. First, DJ Trent, DJ football player. Come on up, DJ. Congratulations. I picked you first so you can stand this. DJ has the most contagious smile in the world, right? All right. DJ's, listen, I know, but he can't help himself. DJ's an outstanding athlete who earned all county honors in football. DJ is a captain of the football team. He's one of the Suffolk County rushing leaders. He amassed 712 yards and 7 touchdowns this year. DJ also runs winter and spring track, and we expect big things there. By far, DJ was the hardest worker between last year and this year on the whole football. And it doesn't matter if anybody else is here, because that's what it is. Okay? DJ spent every day in the gym, in the weight room, training. And Coach Sip calls him Mighty Mouse because he wasn't the biggest, but he brought the strongest heart, strongest desire, and that's why at his size, he's a leader, he's a captain, and a champion of the football team, and that's why he earned those 12 county honors. So I can tell you that when a year ago, when my son's team prepared to play against him, they prepared for DJ. They had that beat stop him, and it was pretty hard. DJ Trent. Our next football player is Mr. Keishon McCallum. And DJ's a senior. Keishon's a sophomore. Keishon, he rushed for 611 yards and 12 touchdowns. Keishon, I wrote here, is one of the most dynamic athletes that I've seen in the last 9 years. That's my time at Belcourt. He's one of the most dynamic athletes that I've ever seen. Ever. He's an outstanding athlete. I had the pleasure of watching Kayshawn compete when he was in probably 4th or 5th grade, because I was on the other sideline coaching a PAL game against him. And after the 4 touchdowns that he scored, I changed my defense up a little bit. And I told one of my sons, just follow him. And we scored a touchdown with about 1.5 minutes left in the game to go ahead. So it was 1.5 minutes. We score, and the other coach looked at me and goes, "We left too much time. That kid's gonna get the ball." Well, that kid got the ball and ran 20 yards to the sideline, because I'm a really good coach, we pinned him in. And then he went backwards 20 yards and ran 70 yards down the other sideline. And that was my introduction to Kayshawn. Then he went over to Frank P. Long, and Mr. Bauman called him. And he said, "You really need to get over here for field day. You have to see this kid. He's just an outstanding athlete." And when I went over, I said, "Oh, that's the running back from football, the PAL football team. I remember him." And then when he was in the middle school, Brian Gensel, the wrestling coach, called me up and said, "You coming to the match today? You got to see this kid." I said, "Is it the parish kid?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I've seen him. I already know him." And I'm exaggerating, but I'm really not. That's the talent inside this young man. Kayshawn, you're a pleasure to watch. You earned all county honors because other coaches, when they watched the film, they knew about him last year, so they knew that was the game plan. Then they saw you, and they said, with the two of them, we don't know what to do. And it's a dynamic duo in the backfield. And I just look for some great things for you in the future. Last year, Kayshawn played basketball, and he was an outstanding basketball player. And with the pressure of some people that I know, we pushed him over to wrestle, and he just helped his team tonight win a league championship. He's also currently ranked in the county. He just jumped on the charts this week. He's 6th in Suffolk County in the rankings, and we're hoping to finish higher than that in the county tournament. So, Kayshawn Patch. Grace Hampton. I'm just going to mention something quick about Grace, and then I'm going to have Coach Johnson say a few words. Grace, she's an outstanding runner who achieved all county honors this fall in cross country. I had the pleasure of chatting with Mom recently, so I found out that she's also been offered Division I and Division II scholarships in athletics as well as academics. So she has choices. And that, one of the big athletic lessons, and you can talk to the boys about it, but is we talk to our athletes about academics and the numbers. How much money do we get in academics? How much do we get in athletics? And that academic number is enormous. And for Grace, because she's one of the highest averages in the school, she's one of our very best scholar athletes, they're often a lot of money. And so she has great choices. To learn a little bit more about Grace in cross country and track, I've invited Coach Alec Johnson to just say a few words. Coach?
Hello. So as Mr. McIntyre said, I'm Grace's cross-country coach. I coach at Bellport, and any of you who have young children, running is wonderful. We will be starting at a very young age, starting this spring, this summer. I had the pleasure to coach Grace, and as a senior, she received many great accolades, as Mr. McIntyre had said. Unfortunately, Grace was very sick during a crucial 2-week period of training, and when that happens, when you're running and you're trying to peak at a perfect time, and we saw this coming, and then she wasn't recovering as fast as she thought she could. She was getting a little bit emotional, and that was getting in the way. We put that aside with little barbecue potato chips, and she was all good. Although she wasn't able to train to her potential, she overcame this obstacle, and she was able to hold some personal records. The Cathedral Pines course at Middle Island, she ran a time of 19:25 for the 5K course. And when we were leaving that meet, I said to her, what are your goals to finish for the year? And she said, I really want to get a sub 21. Well, she did that at the state qualifier, and she ran a 20:56, meeting her goal of sub 21, or the tough Sunken Meadow course. It's much different than running a regular 5K road race. A lot of big hills. Not only has Grace been named All-County, she's named All-League, a member of the Section 11 All-Academic team, and the Scholar Athlete of our team. Congratulations, Grace.
And lastly, for our athletes, Jalen Conquest couldn't be here tonight. I think she was sick.
Yeah, she's been out of school.
Yeah, she's been out sick, so she let us know that she wasn't going to be here. Jalen earned all-county honors in volleyball. She was named to the Elite Eight, which you have all-county, and then you have the top players in the county. And she was one of the top 8 players in Suffolk County. So that's a notch above everybody else. She was also the MVP of League 4, and I don't have all her stats in front of me, but Coach Roth, when I'm going to introduce him shortly, to talk a little bit about him, but he can mention more about Jalen. She was just an outstanding player at the net, and a big part of why we won that league championship this year. And I wish she could be here tonight, but give it a round of applause for Jalen.
My turn to be embarrassed.
Tenure depends.
I'm sure after you shake my
Pull up a couple of chairs on the front, or? Yeah.
Do we have any clarity? Come on up. You good? Okay. Hold on.
And lastly, the coaches that help make these things happen, they get recognized every now and again for their efforts. And I can tell you, coaching, dollar for dollar, you get about 50 cents an hour for the time and effort they put in. And that's not a knock on us, doesn't matter where you coach. It's because the hours that you put in are just all year. And our coaches are very dedicated in this district. And for these two particular coaches, their work really paid off. Larry Oth, he's been here before. He's been here a bunch of times since I've been here, which means he just keeps working. So he really does an outstanding job. And I also learned, by the way, that you beat Charlie Batson. Which is it's an unbelievable accomplishment, but that's for another time.
Story for another day.
But yeah, Larry's an incredible athlete. So Larry Oth was named the League 4 Varsity Coach of the Year, and they won the league championship. And Ellen Hoffman was named the JV Coach of the Year for League 4. And as a tandem, the varsity team won the league championship. The JV team went 16-3 overall during the season. Just, again, an outstanding job and a real tribute to the dedication to our kids. Take some pictures.
Saying awkwardly. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce one of our all-cast and all-state musicians.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you to the board for inviting us tonight to recognize our wonderful students. You know, these kids that are here tonight, they're the ones that we rely on for everything. We ask them to do everything for our school and our community. We just got through the holiday season with all the tree lightings and sing-alongs and all that. These are the students who do that for us. They're amongst those kids. A great sense of community they share. So the first group we're going to introduce are all-state musicians. So the way this happens is they all perform at the NYSSMA Solo Festival in the prior spring. The students who are selected for all-state have received 100s. Perfect scores are 99s. And not only that, though, they have to be ranked within the festival as #1. So our festival, which covers Eastern Long Island, is one of the most competitive in the state. So it's a great honor for our kids to be selected. So first, I'm going to call up our students. Mia Grossman is selected for the mixed chorus. And Erin Kelly, also for mixed chorus. This was Erin's second year, designated as All-State, and as well, second year All-State, Tyler Zapata. You want to do All-State first?
I mean, it's separate picture.
Yeah, I think so.
And hold on, you want in the picture? Would you like to be in the picture?
She hates pictures. No, I don't mean to be in the picture, but I will take it. Thank you
Are
so
you
much.
sure?
Yeah, I'm quite I prefer to be behind the camera. So thank you. Take my seat.
Now, before you leave, this is all chorus, mixed chorus,
No, mixed chorus, and symphonic.
and all okay. So mixed chorus, you both were going around to all the different venues to sing?
And Tyler also.
Chamber choir.
Okay. Well, I just want to let you know that I attended the one at the Brookhaven Hospital, Long Island Community Hospital. It was wonderful for the hospice. And I got a personal note from a friend of mine who is a volunteer at the Fireplace Cafe for the library, Friends of the Library. And you sang there too. And
Yes.
she was very complimentary of your performance. I just want to congratulate you again. All right? Well done.
So I asked Tyler and Erin and Mia to stay here because they are also designated as county recipients this year. Our All-County Festival in Suffolk County, honestly, it's rivals the All-State Festival. It's incredible. The festival is in November. It is at the Half Hollow Hills East School. For anyone who went, it's an amazing concert. It's amazing what these kids can do. It's a little scary.
They
actually.
do it with 3 rehearsals, is
Yeah,
it?
3 rehearsals. Yeah, honestly, the amount of time that they get to sit together and rehearse is not all that much. And they put on a professional concert. It's an amazing event. So Mia was in the treble choir. Erin was selected for mixed chorus. Tyler for the symphony orchestra. He was principal trumpet in the symphony orchestra. That's a huge honor. Also, Caitlin Madalena was selected for mixed chorus. Maya McCullough, also for mixed chorus. Daniel Roach for the orchestra. And Autumn Margaret Walters for the mixed chorus.
Oh, yeah, I know she would do it. This is gonna be tight.
Yeah, you know that, these guys.
You're all seniors?
Just about to.
What year is what?
Turn this way and then.
Congratulations again. You're, continue to enjoy your voice. Okay.
And again, thank you and congratulations to all of our students, our musicians, our athletes, our coaches, all the advisors that support and guide them throughout the year. Great job.
And just a quick note to Mr. Uzi and Mr. Hogan, the board loves to support our students even when they're not in school events. So
Yeah.
please make sure that we stay aware of those outside extracurricular events, and we'd love to support them there too.
We will.
Thank you very much.
Moving on with communications and announcements. Prior to vacation, I, along with President Felice, had the opportunity to attend our 8th annual virtual enterprise luncheon at Belport High School. As always, I was totally impressed with our students and their virtual business presentations. This year, we saw presentations from 2 businesses, Empire Crates and Portside Suites. Congratulations to all students participating, particularly CEO of Empire Crates, Todd Kleiman, and CEO of Portside Suites, Shalik Cochran. And of course, special recognition to our business teacher, Ms. Sheila Smith, who was instrumental in bringing virtual enterprise to Belport and making the program a model program that it currently is. And I would be remiss by not mentioning the marvelous food that was catered by our own culinary group. Always a fabulous spread. Unfortunately, it was running to another building. I was only able to partake in the aroma, not the lunch. Next, also before vacation, Mr. Small and I were invited and attended Bow Tie Tuesday in Mr. Perkins' 5th grade class at Frankie Long. On Bow Tie Tuesday, wearing bow ties and hair ribbons, students temporarily put away their schoolwork and listen to a guest speaker who visit the classroom offering tips for success. Mr. Small and I, as I said, were recent guest speakers of this wonderful initiative that supports building good character and teaching responsibility. Great idea to Mr. Perkins. Next, and thank you to Belport High School's Athletes Helping Others, as well as the Belport Teachers Association, who together held their annual toy drive and book drive. for students at Bellport Head Start Pre-K program. This year is the 9th year of the event, where preschool students get the opportunity to sit on Santa's lap and receive a present and a book from one of Santa's elf athletes. Thank you to Athletes Helping Others, advisor Mr. Pete Grassi, PTA President Mr. White, who was in attendance as well, and of course South Country Santa, Mr. Glenn McElroy. He's a social service teacher at Belleville Middle School, who meant that you don't know that name. And then finally, I would like to board to, not in the area of communications and announcement, I'd like the board to consider a name change of the South Haven School. As the board is aware, we are planning and preparing to create a pre-K center at South Haven. That work is actually under construction. My suggestion for the name change would be South Country Early Childhood Center. And if the board agrees and sees fit, I'd like to start that in motion to do that. We have a board policy that addresses that. I'm not really sure if it requires 2 meetings. I have to look at the policy, but I would like to move forward with that and make the name of the school represent what the school would be.
Any objections from the board moving forward?
No objections. Something just sort of hit me in the last 10 minutes about names. And I know we've had this discussion and probably hasn't been for a few years now. For better or worse, we have a little bit of an identity crisis here in the South Country Central School District, because when I tell people I live in the South Country Central School District or I'm on the board in the South Country Central School District, I'm invariably asked, oh, is that Nassau County? And I don't know if this is a good time to bring this up, but I have to say, have we come to a point in time where, since we are constantly referred to as Bellport, and we have Bellport on every one of our shirts, is this the point in time where we crack that nut and think about putting it to one of the committees to see if we just go right ahead and formally change our name? And I say that as being someone who happens to be a high school graduate from Longwood High School, which at the time was the Middle Island Central School District, which also had an identity crisis because we were constantly confused with Middle Country. And eventually, after I graduated, way back in the day, they changed it to the Longwood School District to mirror that it was the name of the high school. So I think for a long time we've been sort of fighting the reality that we're known as Bellport. Because at one point our high school was in Bellport Village, and for a very long time it hasn't been there. I don't know if anybody is very invested in the South Country name, that they would not want to let that go. But like I said, we seem to have an identity crisis, and it would be nice if we could be better identified as a whole under the banner of Bellport, because isn't that what everybody knows us by? And I hadn't fully thought this out, so I apologize for springing this on you, but it just hit me again. In fact, I was watching Mr. McIntyre stand there, and his shirt said Bellport Golf on it. Our football jerseys say Bellport Football. So, just a thought.
Well, at any rate, we would need this name change for consideration to be put on the agenda.
Absolutely.
Yes. So
Yes,
why don't
and
we-
committee, and
Yeah.
obviously State Education Department has to approve it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know it,
We have to notify them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know it's a process, but it honestly just came to me at
So-
the moment,
so,
after much back and forth through the years.
I want to clarify what
Mhm.
trustee Santos said. Good with moving to the pre-K center change.
Well, yes
But to
and,
look-
yes and no,
But are you
because
saying Bellport?
if we are going to truly then rebrand ourselves, which is really what I'm speaking of, then the pre-K center then would be the Bellport
Bellport.
Early Learning.
Right. Okay.
And for better or worse, life is about branding.
When are our
Strategic
next,
planning.
I was just gonna say, our next
So
round.
I'm so, again,
No, that's
it
okay.
just, you
Our
know,
next- Our next
as I've
round
been
of committees
thinking about
are the
this.
first week in March,
yes.
so, but you wanna get moving.
Well, I,
Well, let's at least, well, we have another meeting at the
Yeah,
end
we
of this
could.
month. So let's at least get it back on the agenda and certainly when we have the full board here to continue with the discussion. Does that sound?
Oh, I'm fine with it, and like I said, I'm sorry for springing this at the moment, but
okay, that's all the communications I have.
Oh, okay. All right, Carla, would you like to begin? Thanks.
Hi everyone, I hope you all enjoyed the holiday season. I know it's been a while since we've been here. I would just like to wish everyone the start to a very happy new year. The Student Council is thrilled and ready to go for the LEAD Conference in Washington, D.C., February 1st through the 3rd. Speaking on behalf of the Student Council and myself, we would like to thank the South Country Education Foundation for the generous grant that will allow us to attend this amazing conference with student leaders across the nation this upcoming February. We are also very lucky to have so many caring and thoughtful members in our community. This year, we were able to receive more food donations than we anticipated. This extra food will be brought to local food pantries in this January and February, which was very exciting. Along with food donations, we are now asking for support in our coat drive this winter. Any new or gently used jackets, scarves, gloves, mittens, and more will be greatly appreciated. January 17th will be our Halfway There ice cream social in the newly renovated East Commons. The Student Council will be giving out ice cream to all of the high school students interested in celebrating the halfway point of the school year. The last important thing I would like to mention is Belport's Got Talent, which will be held in the high school auditorium on January 25th. We have many singers, dancers, magicians, and musicians that are eager to perform for the crowd. We would like to encourage everyone to come and be entertained for the night. So that's January 25th.
There was a date change on
Yeah,
that, right?
January 25th. There was some conflict with the basketball game, so we wanted to make sure everyone would be there.
So it was changed from what, the 11th?
the 11th.
Yes,
To the 25th, okay.
What time?
7 p.m.
Thank you. Mr. Sanford?
I'm just making changes on my calendar.
Okay.
Since our last meeting, I had the opportunity to attend, actually, it was just yesterday, the concert at Belport High School. It's called the Chamber Concert because it does encompass all the variety of, I'd say, sort of specialty groups that we have at the high school who, in addition to their regular music classes during the school day, stay after school and participate. And it is quite an amazing assortment of a variety of talent that I don't think many of us realize we have within our school. I have to say my personal highlight was seeing Mr. Reski, excuse me, and I don't even know the proper title of it, Mr. Hogan, maybe you can help me, his drum choir?
Yeah, it's a drum ensemble.
A drum ensemble, where they use what appears to be large plastic cans, and they produce this amazing music. Again, just a phenomenal feat, and to see actually the joy that they have in doing it is really a treat. And it was everything from, chamber choir to this drum music to a flute ensemble to trumpet to guitar, everything and anything you could possibly imagine musically. So I hope that in the future, many people will check their calendars and mark the date. It's always in early January, and I was remiss before holiday in mentioning it because I got tied up with holidays. So really a great treat to see. One of the things to take note of course, is a lot of the upcoming wonderful musical opportunities that are happening here in the district. If you haven't already taken a look at your calendar, we do have at Belport Middle School, the musical production is coming up. And soon after that, the first weekend of February is the musical at the high school. So please, once again, I encourage everyone to take the opportunity. It'll be the least expensive, best ticket you ever bought to a musical, and to see just the wonderful talent that we have and that our faculty and staff has nurtured here in our school district. Also, for anyone who is interested in, or if you have never done it before, tomorrow evening is the Bellport High School PTSA meeting. Generally, this time of year, we begin to actually plan for all the graduation activities. So please do come and be part of that. That's about it for me.
Just to that point of graduation, graduation's very late this year, isn't it?
That's the way the calendar fell.
Yeah, it's usually the third week, but it is the last week, that is correct, right? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sando.
We're gonna have a calendar next year too in terms of vacation.
Okay. Dr. Griffin.
Just one thank you to administration. The sidewalks at Brookhaven Elementary, they look great. Well done. Can't wait to see the rest of it finished, along with the fencing. It's part of, I think, what we're talking about, just beautifying the district and keeping it safe, of course. But it does make a difference, you know, for the kids when they get off the bus to get onto a beautifully recently created cement patch, which looks beautiful. And I'm sure I've seen Dr. Raymond out there with her shovel in hand, fixing it up by herself along with our buildings and grounds. So I'm looking forward to seeing even more with the fencing coming around and the adjacent sidewalk done soon. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Vice President Hunt. Okay. All right, just before I go through the items that the events that I attended, just want to remind everybody here, take a look in the hallway of all the beautiful artwork that has been put up. There's been a recent change in the artwork that was there, and it's just beauty to behold. Every time I walk in the hallway over these last couple of weeks, I see something different that pops out. So take some time to look at it. We have some very talented artistic students in our district, and their art is here for all of us to enjoy. Yes, I did attend virtual enterprise with Dr. Gianni, and it was, again, just very impressive, the students and what they put into learning how to actually run a corporation. It was my second year to attend, and I'm glad I was there. I too missed the culinary surprise, but it did smell wonderful. As I said, I attended the Long Island Community Hospital hospice tree lighting, and our choir was there, and they performed they had a wonderful night of entertaining the members that were there. Also attended the girls' varsity basketball game, one of their first games, I believe it was, at Patrick Minford. The Santa morning at Brookhaven Elementary. Finance Committee, Health and Safety Committee, attended those committee meetings this month. And the Bellport Middle School concert, which was a wonderful night as well. Then I took time to actually attend the boys' varsity basketball game. And I never sat that close to the coaching before. And I was sitting on the sidelines right behind the team bench. And I was so impressed with how much these students and players wanted to perform for the coach, and how encouraging their coach was to them. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that I went to their scrimmage over the holiday that they had against, I think it was against Sable, and really got to appreciate how much goes into coaching these students, and why, as we heard before from Athletic Director McIntyre, why our teams are performing so well, because of what's being put in to their practices through their coaches. So, job well done to all of our coaches. And then I'm going to enjoy tomorrow night attending Frank P. Long at their winter concert. So that's all I have to report for now, and we can go on with the rest of our agenda. And that brings us to public commentary. Do we have any? Am I correct? Is that where we are? Yeah. Do we have any cards? No cards at this time?
Okay, items for discussion.
That's
Ready
you,
for me?
right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's you.
First item for discussion is the second reading of Policy 6121, Sexual Harassment in the Workplace. This policy revision is a result of new state laws aimed at preventing sexual harassment in the workplace. The revised policy is suggested by our policy provider and modeled from the Department of Labor's draft model policy. While having many components of current policy, this revision is structured quite different, as evident in the track changes that the board has been able to review. Policy revision has been reviewed and approved by administration, district council, and the district strategic planning committee. I offer this for the board's review, second reading, and action this evening.
Let's take a motion and a second to approve, and then I have a question. So motion and a second to approve adopting the sexual harassment, should be prevention in the workplace, should it not?
It's specifically named that.
It's specific, that's how it's named?
Yes.
Okay. Seems kind of
They
productive,
give
but
it to us.
nevertheless, okay. Motion by Vice President Hunt, seconded by Dr. Griffin. Okay, so we're on the floor for discussion. There was some talk in health and safety over the actual training, and if it was going to be, because the way the law is written, there has to be an opportunity for question answer, interactive question answer. Have we determined if the training mechanism satisfies the mandates of the law?
I was told yes.
Okay.
I know that the staff have already used the video. We have the certificates of completion coming in. But what I was told was that the GCN video training does satisfy the
It
requirement.
does. Okay. All right. Very well. Any other questions?
It seems to be the way of the world, that there are a lot of online trainings, and at the end you take the test and print your certificate.
Any other questions? All right, are we ready to adopt the motion? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve policy number 6121. All those in favor, raise your hand. Thank you, put your hands down. Seeing all hands raised, the policy is adopted
Thank you.
unanimously.
The next item for discussion is the first reading of Policy 5413, Procurement, Uniform Grant Guidance for Federal Awards. This is a new policy recommended by a policy provider and is designed to provide uniform grant guidance whenever the district procures goods or services using federal grant funds. Policy again has been reviewed and approved by administration, district council, as well as the board's strategic planning committee. I offer this for the board's review and discussion. And first reading, no action.
Okay. All right, so we have the first reading before us. If there's any other concern or suggestions that you'd like to make at this time before we go to the second reading, Mr. Sanford.
Actually, just a question, and in regards to the policy, I previously sat on the strategic committee, and of course, because we have to limit the number of board members per committee, I did step aside to let some new members have that opportunity. Is there some background that you can provide to us as to why we're doing this at this point in time?
It's recommended by our policy provider. Not sure if I have any, I don't know if council has background. I don't want to put you on the spot.
So it's, I mean, for future reference, if
But
there's something you can send me, it's kind of standard operating procedure currently.
Sure, for next time, I can certainly bring in the underlying guidance from the policy provider, but I'm also aware that it was a update recommended by Erie Wambuses,
Okay.
and I can certainly provide further guidance next time.
Thank you.
Maybe we can put
Thank you.
maybe I can get something into the update.
That'd be great.
Or definitely before the next meeting.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thanks, Mrs. Sanford. Next item?
Bless you. Next item for discussion is the first reading of policy 7222, diploma credential options for students with disabilities. Our current policy is titled credit options for students with disabilities, and so there's a title change. While similar, this form is formatted quite different. The new format also includes the new CDOS option for students with disabilities. Policy revision has also been reviewed and approved by administration, district council, and the board's strategic planning committee. This is again the first reading of this policy for the board's review and discussion.
All right, any comments or questions on board policy 7222? Okay, all right, so we'll move it on to
Move on
the second reading.
To the second reading. And the last item for discussion is the first reading of policy 7670, due process complaints, selection and board appointment of impartial hearing officers. This revised policy provides guidance for due process complaints, the resolution process, and the selection and appointment of impartial hearing officers. But we do have a current policy. The suggested policy is quite different with a changing format, along with removal of sections that are already addressed in law or regulation. Policy revision has been reviewed and approved by administration, district council, as well as the board's strategic planning committee, and I offer this for the board's first reading and review and discussion.
Okay, same thing, any questions? Okay, and you can move that on to the second reading.
Okay. Moving on to curriculum. Administration recommends approval of curriculum items reflected in schedules G1 through G3. Right spot. Yes.
It's 3, not 4? It's
No,
3.
4 is all the items, the
Oh,
consent.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha. All right, so we have item G1 through 3 for adoption under consent. Motion and a second. Motion by Dr. Griffin, second by Vice President Hunt. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, you ready to vote? All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you, please put them down. Seeing all hands raised, consent item G1 through 3 is approved unanimously.
Moving on to personnel, administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in schedules H1 through H6.
Okay. Board consent agenda, item H1 through 6. Motion and a second to approve. Anybody? Dr. Griffin, Vice President Hunt. Very busy tonight. Any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you, please put them down. Seeing all hands raised, consent agenda item H1 through 6 is approved unanimously.
And moving on to business items, administration recommends approval of business items reflected in schedules I1 through I11.
Okay, we need a motion and a second for I1 through I11. Would Dr. Griffin like to make the motion and Vice President Hunt second?
Well, Mr. Santos sitting over there.
I tried. I'm not quick enough.
One of you step down.
I will gladly rescind
It's hard to look at
my,
both sides,
I know, I was
know,
looking first and I
trust
didn't
me.
see you, my apologies.
I
I'll
was
gladly
still
rescind my
scrolling
motion.
to just
Okay.
in case.
All right, so.
I got a bad arm too,
Ms. Hunt
so-
will make the motion and Mr. Santo will
It's quite
second.
all right.
Just a quick comment on it, one of these items is to accept the donation from 7-Eleven that a number of, the 3 of us actually here participated in. That was a very nice, event, and that money is going to good use for the
Center of Excellence.
Center of Excellence, yes. So that's one of the items that we're accepting here tonight. Okay, we need to vote on item I1 through I.
Discussion,
Oh, more
please. Yeah.
discussion, yes.
Just a question about item I1, the clinical affiliation. Can we just have some background on that? I
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
sure
the-
if it was one of the programs we've had previously, one of the programs we've discussed, and
No, similar. So out at Stony Brook, we have the dental program. This is the asthma program for the nursing.
okay.
So a select group of kids with, obviously with parent consent, will participate in an asthma program.
Okay.
How to learn how to live with asthma.
It was in our update, but I
Mm.
couldn't tell from the title if this was indeed the
Yeah,
same.
Open Airways.
pre-
It was-
same program,
It was titled
so
Open
I wanted
Airways
to-
in the update, and it was about 3 updates ago.
Yes,
You're right.
yeah. Yeah, sometimes the titles don't really reflect exactly what we had previously received, so.
Any other questions or discussion? All right. Then again, for your consideration, I-1 through I-11. If you are in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Put them down. Seeing all hands raised. I-1 through 11 is approved unanimously. That brings us to public commentary. Still no cards? Okay. Then that brings us to meeting closing remarks by the board. And we'll start here in reverse order with Dr. Griffin.
No comments this evening?
Okay. Mr. Carter?
Before you guys reminded me of the virtual enterprise, I also had the opportunity to attend the business luncheon. And today I had the opportunity to attend the trade show with them, and they did an excellent job with sales. It was very cool to see them. So I just wanted to say I had a good time with that as well.
I asked you to buy some stuff for me there, didn't I?
Yeah.
Did you spend some money for me?
I did.
Oh, great.
She says with a smile.
No, this one was at LIU Post.
LAU Post, all right.
Yeah.
And they did some great trade shows.
Yeah.
Mr. Santa?
All right, I'm not one for New Year's resolutions, but I generally take this time of the year to reflect upon many things in my life, including my board service. And since I've sat here for quite some time, there are definitely some things that I would like to reflect upon. I can wholeheartedly say that my recent years on the school board have been very different from my earlier years on the school board. I can say currently that I do believe our current board comes to board service for the right reasons as opposed to some previous years in which many people served themselves. And I have to just say what it is. So, what I often have found though, our best intentions and our best work is not always followed by best practice. And so I ask each and every one of us to reflect upon some of the things that we have really worked very hard on, some of the things that we have implemented, and we've even celebrated, but sometimes in our lifetime we get a little busy and we forget to check back in. And so there are a number of programs that we've implemented, there have been things that we've celebrated, and then sometimes in our crazy lives and busyness, we don't always go back and see if we're being as effective as we could be. So I had to make a list. And what I hope that we can discuss, address, or even put on future board agendas. I was so happy at some point in time when we created the Family Engagement Center, for instance. Yet this school year, I'm not seeing very much in terms of updates to programs that are happening there. I know there's a couple of math night things happening in March, but I feel as if in our efforts to work in some other areas, some of that's been forgotten. And one thing I'd like to see on my New Year's wish list is additional opportunities for students to be tutored at the Family Engagement Center because it is very necessary. I can only say as a parent, my baby's a senior now, so I'm pretty much through the system. The need for tutoring in a variety of academic areas at the high school, the need is there, and not everyone in the community can pay $100 an hour each week for someone to tutor their child in whether it's AP, physics, or advanced algebra. And that's something that I find we're lacking in, and I really would like there to be a comprehensive list and an opportunity in the availability. And perhaps the Family Engagement Center could be that availability. Sometimes I have found through my years where there's people willing to tutor, but the information is really difficult to access. No one knows exactly who to call, and it takes sometimes a few weeks where there's something that I think we could have readily available. By second week of September, the list is printed and it's ready to go. So I'd like to see that, And I do see on Facebook, many parents recently asking for tutors. Does anybody know a good tutor here, there? Well, we have a resource. I want to make certain that we make our resource as useful as possible. So I'd like that to be standard operating procedure, if we could figure that out. Some other things that I've noticed, and many people in the community, people at this board table, were very happy about us live streaming on Facebook. I took the opportunity to watch and listen to one of our meetings. While I'm actually grateful that the camera is fuzzy, because I hate to be on camera, you cannot hear the comments being made. So if we could work on that, I mean, it's great that that video is posted on Facebook, but it's not very effective if people can't hear what people are saying. So if we might, and
Comments by each board
Just-
or the,
the sound goes in and out. It depends on, I think, on where you're sitting at the board table,
because
and
we did have some sound issues that we addressed early on.
yeah, even the last
I
meeting.
didn't listen to the last
So
meeting.
that's
I'll
that's
listen
the
again.
one I did check, because I knew
Okay.
we needed some time to work out the kinks. But even the last meeting, it was difficult to hear people. So it's great that we have it. We need to fine tune it to make it as useful as possible. Our district website, it's a communication tool, but it's only as good as whether or not each and every one of us take the opportunity to update it. There's a lot of out-of-date information on our website, and it's a bit embarrassing, honestly. So if we make it our best practice to review that, maybe at the start of a school year or at the start of a new year. Outdated letters, things of that nature. We can do better. It doesn't make, I know each and every person is working very hard, but if you happen to click on our website and you see this, it doesn't look good for us. This may be something to, I'm sure it's something to refer to the strategic planning committee. What are our plans in regards to updating the strategic plan, which expires this year, as well as our brochure that we have posted on our website. There's information in that brochure that cites statistics from 2014 and 2015. So again, it's something that we really need to update.
Committee is currently updating.
I appreciate that. Again, I'm not on that committee, and there hasn't been a committee report in reference to that, so I have to ask. And I guess for that point, just in general, to reflect on these things, we've implemented some great programs, but to reflect on their effectiveness and to be ever mindful that we put our best foot forward. There are a lot of phenomenal things going on. Some we've been able to post as we've gone on this year, but there's more yet to be done. And I think, like I said, we need some sort of point in the year where we check in with those things. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And having said that, our next meeting is scheduled for January, what is the date of our next meeting? 23rd? Okay. And then we'll begin the budget.
Yes,
cycle.
it's the first budget.
Sammy sits there with a smile.
Stock market's killing us.
All right, so we will get ready for the budget season. And if there's no further agenda items, we can take a motion to adjourn. Okay? Motion by Dr. Griffin, seconded by Mr. Santo. All those in favor, raise your hands. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and thank you, everybody out there who watched us on live stream. Hey, Jack. Please stand adjourned. He said he was going to watch.
He's gonna watch.